Royal Standley of Oregon Pacific Financial Advisors, offering securities through United Planners Financial Services, member FINRA, SIPC, shares his planning approach to help people toward a place where they may be at peace regarding their financial goals. In this dynamic podcast, Royal will share his insights on how to design a retirement plan to help you plan for your future. Now, on to the show.
Hello and welcome to episode 1. This is the inaugural podcast, actually, with Royal Standley from Oregon Pacific Financial Advisors. Today, we're going to be asking Royal some business questions and actually get into a little bit of personal questions, which are my favorite, to get to know him and get to know a little bit about his business. Hello, Royal. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Doing great. Glad to be here.
Fantastic. Are you ready?
I am.
All right. Well, we're going to start with some questions about your practice and your business. So let's just jump right in. Why did you decide to work in financial services? Tell us a little bit about your history.
Absolutely. So I actually began just kind of falling into financial services. It was really interesting as I was graduating from high school. My father, who for years had just told me, hey, you need to get into computers. Computers is where the future lies. Out of the blue, sent me an article he had torn out of a magazine about the career of being a financial advisor. And he just found it very interesting seeing the demand there. He was already retired, so I just remember that as kind of my first experience or my first knowledge of what a financial planner was this article my father sent me when I was 18 or 19. Mm-hmm. But in 2001, after college, I had tried real estate and just really didn't care for that as a career. And a friend of mine who worked as a commodity broker said, hey, we need an assistant. And that kind of opened the door to me joining a commodity firm over in Grants Pass, Oregon, a Great Pacific trading company, and learning the ropes of the commodity markets, futures, and options, and that sort of thing. I did that for about 4 or 5 years. During that time, kind of worked my way up and did a fair amount of writing on the website, recommendations, and that sort of thing, really following fairly closely what's going on in the various commodity markets. When I left there, I kind of wanted to try something new. The commodity industry is extremely volatile, and I wanted something where you could work more with individuals and build those long-term relationships that you just really couldn't in a brokerage environment. And so in 2006, I came here and joined Oregon Pacific Financial Advisors. Met my mentor, Todd, who brought me on, and worked with Don for 2 or 3 years directly. And then probably about 2009, 2010, I kind of began building my own practice and did that for the last basically almost 10 years now. And during that time, I was able to purchase one of the founders of the companies, his practice when he passed away. That was in 2010. And then when Don Todd, my mentor, retired in 2016, I was able to purchase his practice as well as the remainder of the firm. So now I am the sole owner of Oregon Pacific Financial.
Great. So with that history, who do you work with and what's your specialty?
So my primary focus is on real people getting ready to retire. So we have millionaire clients. But that high net worth space that I think some advisors try to pitch themselves to, we're just really working with people who are down to earth, who have worked hard all their career, and are looking to enjoy retirement and not worry about what's going on in the financial markets, but want to have the security of knowing that kind of no matter what comes up, they have someone in their corner who's watching things for them. So really, it's those people who know how important financial planning is, but also know how important it is to go out and enjoy their lives and not worry about the minutia that we, with our experience, can worry about for them.
You said that you're in your client's corner. What does that look like? What do you do for your clients specifically?
Absolutely. So, you can throw around the term financial advisor, financial planner, and it really depends on the individual and how they have built their practice. I would say we do a fantastic job of working with investments, designing portfolios, and that sort of thing. And I would say the amount of time that we spend talking about that is probably about 10% of the time we spend with clients. The rest of the time is really on that financial planning piece. And that's really where I feel I bring the most value to a client's life. is in helping them define what they're looking for, define what retirement looks like for them, and then empowering them and guiding them to really enjoy life to their highest and best available outcome. We do a lot of estate planning with clients, helping them plan how they want to pass down their wealth, either to charities or their family. We work with a lot of multi-generational families, meaning that we'll work with mom and dad, grandma and grandpa, son and daughters, and really work with multiple generations there and meet each one of those where they're at so that they can build the financial lives and do the things that are important to them for the future.
Okay. Who is your ideal client?
My ideal client is someone who's probably already begun to think about retirement, probably someone in their late 50s, early 60s who knows that they're a few years out from retirement and need to really lock in what they're doing and what their plan is. That's really the ideal. It can give us time to make changes, to fix any outstanding issues. For instance, if they're still carrying their mortgage or other consumer debt, helping them come up with a plan to get that paid off before we get to retirement. And then make that switch there of, okay, I'm not going to go to work on Monday. What does that look like? Where does the money come from? Mm-hmm. How do I turn this 401k that I have into my income that's going to last me the rest of my life? One thing that I always say is if you're successful, you're only going to retire once in your lifetime. I've helped hundreds of people go through that process. So I feel like I've retired, probably 200 times in my life already. And having somebody in your corner where they can guide you through all of those pitfalls, both financially and I think emotionally as well. Mm-hmm. Because especially men really have this problem where they have a lot of their identity wrapped up in their careers. So just being able to really have a frank conversation with people about, okay, what does retirement look like? How are you going to deal with that change to your identity? And what are the things you're going to do to fill your time with? And helping them just guide them through that process of getting into retirement and enjoying retirement.
That's great. How do you find these clients?
So the biggest way we find our new clients is through referrals from our existing clients. The other ways is through educational events. We just finished up a series on the new tax law that came out this last year. And then also I am affiliated with the Dave Ramsey program through their SmartVestor program. Mm-hmm. So anyone who's familiar with that program, if they go online and they're in Southern Oregon, I'm one of the names that pops up there.
Gotcha. So you spoke a little bit about how you educate your clients. I assume you can't do this alone. So who's on your team and what do they do?
Absolutely. So we have just a phenomenal staff of individuals. Debbie, my lead assistant, she handles virtually all of the ongoing client issues like distributions, transfers, that sort of thing. Carrie handles all of the new client onboarding and new account setup and all the tracking that goes along with bringing those accounts over. And then Marlene is our receptionist. She handles kind of that first contact of when you call into the office, how can we get any issues that are on your mind solved, if we need to get you scheduled to come in and sit down or set up a phone call, that's her purview, and she does a great job at it.
Well, it sounds like Oregon Pacific Financial Advisors has been around for quite a while. What do you guys do in the community?
Yeah, actually, next year will be our 25-year anniversary for Oregon Pacific.
That's great.
So in the community, I'm extremely involved in all of Southern Oregon on a community level. Right now, I sit on a few boards, such as Maslow Project, which works with homeless kids 0 to 22 here in Jackson and Josephine County. I'm the president of the Southern Oregon Head Start Board of Directors, which deals with children between the ages of 0 and 5 and giving them that early childhood education as well as educating parents on best practices for parenting your child, disciplining your child, and all the issues that go along with that. And then also I'm on the foundation board for Asante, which is the regional hospital here in Southern Oregon.
All right. We spoke about client education earlier. What designations or advanced education do you have that help you with your practice?
So the big one is the Chartered Financial Consultant. That's a advanced financial planning degree. That's the one I probably utilize the most. I'm also a CLTC, that just means Certified in Long-Term Care Insurance, as well as a Certified Retirement Plan Specialist, a CRPS. And then finally, this year, I just earned my AIF, which is an accredited investment fiduciary designation. So education's something that's very, very important to me, just because if I'm not improving, this world changes so quick that, the knowledge that you had 10 years ago, you always have to be learning new things because the world changes so fast now.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. With all this education and your experience, that kind of boils us down to our last question about the business side of things. What is your financial philosophy?
My financial philosophy is really one of trying to keep things as simple as possible for our clients and really elegantly designing their financial plans, using as much diversification and risk management as we can, so that our clients, if we've done our job right, can sleep well at night without worrying about what's going on in the markets with interest rates and all the worries that we seem to be hit with on a daily basis from the news and media.
Well, I appreciate all the answers on the first half of our questionnaire here about your business and education experience. Now we're going to get to the personal side. Are you ready?
Let's go.
All right, here we go. When you're not working, Royal, what do you do for fun?
So I have a 4-year-old daughter, Eleanor, who she just got a new puppy. So we're spending a lot of time with the two of them, mostly just chasing them around. Before I had kids, I spent a lot of time doing some community theater activities. I directed quite a few shows with our community theater in Grants Pass, Barnstormers Theater. I directed about a show every year for about a decade. And that's really one of my true passions, is directing on the stage. Bringing together a group of people and telling a great story is just one of the most fulfilling things I've ever come across in my life.
Who is your hero?
I would say my mother and father. My father joined the Navy at 16 to fight in World War II. Wow. And, that kind of bravery and dedication and service just astounds me. Because I remember where I was at 16, and it wasn't joining the Navy, is for sure. And then my mother, she was an entrepreneur herself. We had a small motel here in Southern Oregon, and that's some of my earliest memories, is helping her with house cleaning, checking in lodgers, and just being around business from a very, very early age. So she was also a dedicated Christian, and her faith has just had a profound effect on my life and who I am today.
Fantastic. This next question, I think every married couple out there has asked each other and talked about. But Royal, if you had all the money in the world, what would you do?
I'd probably look for ways to use it to make this world a better place. I hope that's not cliche or anything, but I'd probably just look for organizations that could use that money better than I could. At a certain point, once you have the necessities taken care of and a library card, what else do you need in this world?
Yeah.
So maybe some travel, but really it would be looking at kind of improving other people who maybe aren't as fortunate, helping them get that step up that I was able to get from my parents.
That's great. That's really great. So what is your idea of success?
My idea of success is simply just to work hard, to lead a quiet life, and have a good reputation. I think being someone that can be relied upon by their friends, family, and community, that to me is the ideal of success. It's not material things, because those are worthless. I really believe it's just relationships with the people who come into your orbit.
And speaking of friends, family, and community and clients, what is the one thing you recommend to them most?
Right now, the thing I recommend to everyone that I talk to is our local library just updated their app for the iPhone. It's called Libby. It is fantastic to listen to audiobooks,
Great.
to check out books that you can read on your iPad or iPhone. It is revolutionary to me that such a thing as a library exists and that we have this repository of knowledge that is literally free to just about everyone in this country. It's absolutely fabulous.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I absolutely agree. This is going to be probably my favorite question. Royal, name one thing most people don't know about you.
I would say most people don't know that I actually studied theater in college, and that's one of my big passions in life is not necessarily being on stage, but telling a story through the stage.
Mm-hmm. What is your mantra, motto, or something you say to yourself that helps you keep focused and on track?
Well, it's on the sign when you come into Oregon Pacific Financial Advisors, and it's really kind of my vision for my life of what I do, both for myself and for my clients, and that is simply elegantly designing the future today. And I like the word elegantly because it means to take something that's complex and present it with simplicity. And I really feel like that is what I'm doing for my clients. What I'm trying to do for myself is come up with a plan to live your life with purpose, live your life with design, to achieve those things that you most want and are most important to you in your lifetime.
All right. What is your proudest achievement, Royal?
Well, she's 4 years old and named Eleanor. She is the absolute light of my life, and my hardest and most fulfilling job is to try to keep her wrangled and teach her how to be a kind and smart woman.
Well, I think bringing a puppy into the mix is definitely going to help with that. I think that's fantastic. All right, you have the attention of a whole lot of listeners at this point. Who should listen to this podcast, and how should they reach out to you or your office?
Well, I think this podcast is really going to be focused on those people who are looking for that missing piece that's eluded them, which is, how does all of this fit together? How do all of the things that I'm doing right now that I've been told or taught will prepare me for the future, how does all this come together, and how does this really work for me in my individual situation? That, I think, is what we're going to do on this podcast, is help answer some of those questions and give people guidance of how to pull all this stuff together and really lead their best life possible. If you want to reach out to the office, please visit our website at opfa.com or give me a call at 772-1116. You can talk to Marlene, and she can answer a lot of your questions about how to schedule an appointment.
Great. Those are the 20 questions for this inaugural podcast. Royal, do you have any closing thoughts for us? Anything else you want to add?
Simply that I'm looking forward to educating, entertaining, and hopefully one day meeting some of our listeners.
Thank you, Royal. I really appreciate that. That's great. Thank you for listening to today's podcast, episode number 1, the inaugural podcast with Royal Standley. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, please click the subscribe now button below. This way, when Royal comes out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device, and it also makes it so much easier to share these podcasts with friends and family. Thank you so much for listening today. For everyone at Oregon Pacific Financial Advisors, this is Eric Johnson, reminding you to live your best day every day. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Life by Design podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The views expressed are those of the presenter and may not reflect the views of United Planners Financial Services. Material discussed is meant to provide general information and is not to be construed as specific investment, tax, or legal advice. Individual needs vary and require consideration of your unique objectives and financial situation. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning. Advisory services offered through Oregon Pacific Financial Advisors, Inc. Securities offered through United Planners Financial Services of America, member FINRA and SIPC. Oregon Pacific Financial Advisors, Inc. and United Planners Financial Services are independent companies.